Hi, Long Range Hunting. Today I'm going to tell you why you should never buy a hammer bullet. Now, I've done 4 videos on this subject, and quite honestly, I'm getting tired of this company. It started off as a basic test. I'd never heard of this company before. Guy sent me the bullets, shot them through gel, and in both cases, I ended up doing it twice in a row just to verify that it was doing that. And it was doing what's called necking over, where that tip fills and effectively it becomes a full metal jacket. What's going to happen is it goes in, it's going to start a displacement, and that bullet is either going to start tumbling or it's going to change direction and go out. In this case, it went through about 5 inches into the gel, necked over, and exited the side on one and the top on the other. Now, that's not something you want. That's unpredictable. It's not good performance. And then some people said that was a fluke. The guy that actually sent me them, he did his own gel test and got the exact same thing that I did. It ended up going in about 4 to 5 inches, started tumbling, and then changed direction and went out the top. During the course of arguing with some of the people that like hammer bullets, somebody brought up their YouTube channel saying, hey, they got examples there. So I went and checked it out. And what it did is show me that not only what I was getting is accurate, but it also was depicted on their YouTube channel. So there was 2 videos I covered. One is a elk. It gets shot through a high shoulder shot, just going under the spine, top of the shoulder blade, you hit the spine. The bottom of it, you're going to go underneath the spine, and if you have a good transfer of energy, it's going to expand and shut down that CNS, the central nervous system. It didn't. In fact, the elk didn't even flinch. It blew straight through that thing, high velocity, and it ended up walking off, probably made it, I don't know, 10, 20 yards, and then fell against a tree and was kind of thrashing around, and that's where it ended. So a lot of guys saying, oh yeah, it dropped and did that. Well, we saw it thrashing around. We never saw it actually stop moving. Ultimately, it still had a bullet go through the lungs. It's just, that was a CNS shot and where it should have dropped on the spot. But the fact there was no real transfer of energy into that from that bullet just shows a lack of performance on a shot that with any other bullet, pretty much, it would have dropped. There was also a video of a mule deer, which is the one I'm going to be talking about and the reason I'm doing this video. And what happened is the guy had a quartering shot, really hard quartering. He shot, it ended up going in, exited out the right side. You can see where the bullet impacts, and it changed direction. So that means that that bullet didn't expand. It penciled through. It ended up changing directions. It nicked the spine because it was a higher shot, and it dropped, and you can actually see it laying on its side, and its head's moving around, which that's what happens with spine shots. Basically, it's paralyzed from this part down, and it can still move its head. Now, in the third video, I brought up a test also where they did a comparison for people to comment on. It was between the Nosler AccuBond and their Hunter Hammer, high velocity. So basically they had the camera clear back. It's not like me where I set it up close and get all the details, but it was really vague. You couldn't really see anything. It just said, you know, Nosler, they shot it, and then they did Hammer, it shot it. It was like 16 seconds long or so. And that was it. There was no close-up. There was nothing for you to really see, which is what the 4th video I did covered, if you guys want to watch that. Now, I had some choice words, especially at the end, saying, you know what, I hope they get their act together, take this type of feedback and, you know, change their bullet for the better. There's obviously issues with it, whether they want to admit it or not. There's issues that are showing both in controlled testing, it's showing in the field. There's multiple incidents where this has happened, and it's not something that's just exclusive to that. It can even happen with lead core bullet, boat tail hollow points like Sierra Match King. The Lapua Sonars can do this, where it's filling and it's penciling through. But those are a much softer bullet and more prone to expansion. So going with a harder metal like copper, especially with that poor design that Hammer uses, you're just increasing your odds of having that issue. Unlike Lehigh Defense and other companies that have removed material and done other things to weaken that metal in order to reduce the necessary impact resistance and aid in that expansion, Hammer's done nothing. It's a copper bullet done on a CNC lathe, and they drill a hole in it, basically. That's all it is. It's a piece of copper with a hole in it. Nothing fancy. Now, that gel test, you can go watch that video and see how I break it down, the actual slowing it down myself to show you that energy transfer difference and the problems with that test. Well, they actually redid that video. One of my comments in the original one months ago was that the camera was so far back you couldn't see anything. And so they zoomed in, which that tells me their software, they can do that. And they slowed down part of it. So they have the capability for slow motion. I don't know why they're not showing the temporary wound cavity. Lots of red flags in there. Now, this one really pissed me off. And the reason I'm doing this video and why I say you should never buy one of their bullets, that they are a terrible company. The shot with the mule deer where it changed directions, they redid that too. But not what you think. They actually zoomed in so you're only seeing the deer and not the outside area, and it shows the deer being hit and falling over. They don't show where that bullet is changing directions. I mean, you're only seeing that deer. It's very exclusive. And so the original video, which you're going to watch in a second, it's way back. You see that bullet hit. You see that bullet go to the right. It nicks the spine, and you can see the head moving around. But what they did, and you can look at this, their oldest video is only 2 weeks old. I did the original video on this from their YouTube channel 4 months ago. They wiped their entire video selection and then reposted stuff to make it look better, to cover up the fact they are having poor performance and performance issues. This being the most extreme case. They have a problem. It's been identified. I had that. They know about it. And instead of omitting it, especially when they had the video, and they originally had the commenting turned off on that because people were calling them out. But here's the thing. They didn't say, you know what, we need to fix this projectile. We obviously have problems. That's what a good company would do. They would say, you know what, we're getting this feedback. We see a problem. Let's redesign and make a better bullet. Did they do that? No. What they did is erase all evidence of that and then modify their videos to make them look better and cut down that area that you can see so that you cannot see that bullet perform badly. There's no other way to put it. It's a cover up. They're covering up the fact that they have a flaw in their design, and instead of being a responsible bullet company and taking care of that, they're just covering it up. Now, the reason this gets me really worked up is for several reasons. The most important is ethics. We as hunters have a responsibility to do everything we can in our power to make sure that animal does not suffer, to make a quick, clean kill. And bullets are probably the most important part of hunting with a gun to doing that. Picking a good bullet is going to determine whether you get good performance or bad. Bad performance, it's not going to die as fast, which means it's going to be suffering for a longer period of time. A good bullet will put that animal down very fast, being ethical. So when you have a bad bullet design, that is having problems with it penciling through, it's changing directions, which can result in it completely missing vitals in some cases, and is going to lead to wounding. It's going to, even in the cases where it has been shot and it's not transferring that good energy dump and getting a good permanent wound cavity, it's ending up going to be alive and wounded for a longer period of time than it is if it was shot with a better bullet that's going to give you that transfer of energy, that's going to give you that nice permanent wound cavity, that wide cavity, that's going to lead to massive blood loss and shutting down that system. So it really, really gets me worked up because they are selling a bad product, trying to say it's the greatest thing since sliced cheese, which anybody with common sense can look at that and see there's flaw designs. And then instead of being an honorable company and saying, you know what, obviously there's some issues, I wouldn't even be mad if they had just pulled the videos and went to go fix it. I'd actually have some respect for that. But instead, did they do that? No. They went to deceive you as the customer. That is not only very, very extremely unprofessional, it shows a complete lack of honor and integrity. Just plain and simple. I'm calling it how I see. But for a company to lie, I mean, I get marketing. Marketing is stretching the truth. It's making your shot, a little bit more difficult. Your fish is a little bit bigger. It's big fish stores. You're not lying. You're simply embellishing almost. You're trying to make something sound incredible. I get marketing. Bugs me, but I understand it. It's what you have to do to sell a product. And then there's lying, and that is a whole different ballgame, and that is when they cross a line. When they're trying to claim stuff that's not even remotely correct, that really pisses me off, which they've done several things. They're trying to claim superior design, even against lead core bullets, and there's no evidence to show that. In fact, there's a complete opposite. Just my last video showed that they claimed they had better performance than the AccuBond, when clearly, when you slowed it down and actually looked at everything, it was the complete opposite. But when a company goes to the point of when they have an issue, trying to cover it up and continue to produce that same faulty product while selling it to you as the greatest thing, especially since most people don't know, and it's going to result in the bad side of that ending up with that animal. That animal we have a responsibility as ethical hunters to. That animal is going to suffer more because they deceived, covered up, and lied to you. It's despicable, it's wrong, and it really pisses me off. There's enough idiots out there making hunting look bad. We don't need any more. And this coming from a company that makes bullets is just not helping us as hunters. It's not helping us in the gun industry. Plain and simple, it's not. They're not good bullets. It doesn't have good performance. Everybody tries to talk about the accuracy and consistency. Well, guess what? It can be the most accurate bullet in the world. It could be the most consistent bullet in the world as far as construction. However, if the design does not work for terminal ballistics, it doesn't mean anything. It's a great target bullet. You can shoot with it, do groups, shoot long range, whatever. But there's a difference between a bullet being consistent and accurate and it being good at terminal ballistics. There's plenty of accurate bullets out there that suck for terminal ballistics. Just plain and simple. So I highly recommend that you don't buy this. Don't give money to a company that does this kind of crap. And when they get that feedback clearly showing that there's an issue, and even on their own evidence, it's showing that, and they completely ignore it, delete everything, modify it to cover it up, and then repost it. And there's people on there commenting on that video saying, oh, dropped right there. That's excellent performance. No, it wasn't. They think that because those guys have purposely modified that video to make it look like that. Don't waste your money with them. There is plenty of other companies that have honor and integrity that will gladly take your money and give you a better product. I'm just going to leave it at this. I mean, the evidence speaks for itself. Everybody be safe out there. Happy hunting.